Hello there. After ending things off with the B-Wing, we are now going into the Grand Army of the Republic and talking about their Starfighter Corps, along with all the other Starfighters in the Confederacy of Independent Systems and the Galactic Empire. So today we are going to be starting off with the Grand Army of the Republic during the Clone Wars, and today we are starting off with the ETA-2 Actis class Interceptor, otherwise known as the Jedi Interceptor. So without further ado, here we go. But first, as always, we start with a little bit of a breakdown. The creation of the starfighter known as the ETA-2 Actis class Light Interceptor was originally created by the Doctor/Starfighter creator known as Walex Blissix and his wife known as Lyra Blissix. The two of them worked together as engineers on starship design, and he later became a general of the Alliance to Restore the Republic and gained respect throughout the entirety of the galaxy, even staying as a general into the New Republic. The man was such a visionary that not only did he create the Delta 7 Aether Sprite class Light Interceptor, but also created its successor, the Jedi Interceptor, and later on would create the Victory class Star Destroyer, which is absolutely insane. But going back to the Interceptor, it was, of course, the successor of the Aether Sprite, and it would be used by many individuals throughout the entirety of the Jedi Order as a new tool and as a new starfighter for the Jedi Knights and Jedi Generals that would fight during the Clone Wars. The entirety of the ship itself was 5.47 meters in length, 4.3 meters in width, and 2.5 meters tall, with the wings extended and being supported by the wings themselves. The entirety of the actual Jedi Interceptor itself also had a Class 1.0 hyperdrive with a hyperdrive docking ring and could go over 150,000 light years with the hyperdrive range. With a hyperdrive module, shielding equipped with the entirety of the starfighter, an astromech droid with a navigational system, and an armament of 2 laser cannons and secondary ion cannons, or 2 laser cannons and concussion missiles, along with missile launchers. Now, the entire thing about the ETA-2s is simply the fact that they are extremely stripped-down variations of the Aether Sprite, but Quat Drive Yards didn't really care. They took out the heavy sensors and the flight instruments, the entirety of the front half of the ship. They took down a lot of different materials that the Jedi didn't really need because, they were precognitive and they could basically look into the future to sense what exactly that they could dodge and where they had to go and avoid blaster fire and whatnot. And honestly, this was just a steal for Quat Drive Yards and all the designers of the ETA Delta 2s, because saving money on just stripping down old Aether Sprites just so they could sell them back to the Grand Army of the Republic and the Jedi Order for a profit by saying, oh hey, we took all the spare parts that you don't really need off of the Aether Sprites and we sold them back to you, give us more money, is actually insane, and I really respect that on the part of Quat Drive Yards. But the weird thing is that the ETA-2s were actually the main design template for the TIE Fighter for the Galactic Empire, sharing features like the twin ion cannons and the targeting computers. And though the ETA-2 was primarily fast, nimble, and made for Jedi pilots, the TIE Fighter, in contrast, was larger, less sophisticated, and on top of that, the TIE Fighters were so simplistically designed that they were literally designed to where you could just put them together like boxcars, and you could ship them out to the Galactic Empire's Navy so they could send them out onto the battlefield and have them fly around in space, to the point where some statistics even bring up the idea that over the course of the entirety of the Empire's rule, the mass production of these vehicles could have totaled anywhere from the billions to possibly even the trillions over the course of the entirety of the Empire's reign, which is just insane to think about, the idea that there are more TIE fighters in service to the Galactic Empire than there were stormtroopers. But in actuality, the similarities between the ETA-2 starfighter and the TIE fighter were from the technology perspective and the direct design perspective. Since the ETA-2s were stripped-down starfighters that were more prioritized with speed over defense, just like the TIE fighters were, the ETA-2s and the TIE fighters had the same kind of sensors and the same targeting computers, even to the point where they are extremely similar looking on both displays, all the way from the Clone Wars to the Galactic Civil War, and even to the point where the high-performance design of the powerful twin ion engines directly went onto the TIE fighters later on down the line, and were extremely fundamental to all of the different other TIE fighter variants, like the Defenders, the Interceptors, and the Bombers. But of course, like many of the other ships in the Grand Army of the Republic, whenever the actual Empire took over, all of these ships were stripped, scrapped, and sent off the garbage world so they could be incinerated and turned into scrap metal, because a lot of these ships in the Grand Army of the Republic were apparently not good enough to be transferred over to the Empire, and the Empire basically decided that all of their technology and all of the amazing things about this starfighter could effectively be scrapped, because imagine interceptors being used by the actual Inquisitors. That would be crazy. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please hit that like button, subscribe, hit that share button, follow, whatever you want to do, and I will see you guys later. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and may the Force be with you. It is 2:30 in the morning. I'm going to take a nap.